people love to make up shit. I was reading up all the shit that Steven Seagal's made up all through his career, because there's a whole thing going on right now where Steven Seagal told everybody that Anderson Silva, he taught Anderson that kick.
Right. You know, he's one of those weird guys. He's a liar movie star.
That I'm training in UFC, you know, some of them have gotten their championship belts, world championship belts, because they've attributed that to me and me teaching them, so I still know a thing or two.
You still fight?
Yes, I do.
You still dangerous?
Many people consider me, you know, one of the great masters in my own field.
Anderson calls me master. And, you know, most of the Japanese people are from that tradition. They call me sensei or shihan.
I learned that kick, you know, 40 years ago, or 30 years, 45 years ago, I don't know. Long time ago, and worked for the last 35 years or so to perfect it.
Teach that. Where'd you learn that?
Where did I learn it? Well, I learned it, you know, sort of a variation of that in Japan probably 30, 40 years ago, and I've been perfecting it all these years. It's not exactly karate, it's just something that I created.
Oh, there's just one small problem, and it's a big one.
How Steven Seagal is taking credit for this front kick that Anderson Silva, you know, laid out Vitor Belfort for. And I know that you had something to say about it on Twitter. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the issue.
Now, first of all, what I did, I put a promotion in there. What was it? How do you say it? For the UFC, when I came to the UFC, you know, fought against Kosaka, they made a promo reel. And that promo reel, in that promo reel, you see me giving a front kick to Frank Shamrock's face. I just missed, and I kicked underneath his nose, and that's why, you know, he literally had to drain his nose. But if that would have been 2 inches before that, I would have done the kick that nobody knew. I mean, he used that technique over and over again. Yeah, we really want to learn from an actor, or, you know, a guy who, didn't he beat up his wife? Wasn't that something like that? Come on, man. Hey, it's written. That's why he got a restraining order.
We'll slap him, pop in the face, grab his ponytail, maybe a headbutt here and there, and then fold him up. No doubt.
I'm gonna have to have you tonight. But I don't know for sure. Come on up here, baby, and give me some time. I
That was so terrible, I think you gave me cancer.
Maybe I got it wrong. You were the one who told me the Steven Seagal story.
Oh, yeah.
You got a new one?
Oh, that he wrote the greatest screenplay.
Wait, but tell that. Wait. Okay. Just for anyone who's never heard that, tell the first story.
Okay, there's a writer that I know, and I won't mention his name, but he was meeting Steven Seagal for the rewrite, for the writing, potentially, for Under Siege 2.
Right.
And that was the one that broke him when it made $57 million, when that was $57 million in the early 90s. And so he goes into one of those trailers, you know, to meet with Steven Seagal, and he's on the set, and it's one of those big triple bangers where you go into this trailer and it's like you can get lost in there. It's a maze of pop-outs, you know. It's like, which pop-out is Steven Seagal? And he's in the third bedroom to the left and the end of the hall.
Big star.
And he's waiting in there for 45 minutes. He's making him wait, sitting there by himself. Finally, Steven Seagal emerges from one of the other ante-rooms in the mobile home. And he comes out and he said, "I just read the greatest script I've ever read in my life." He goes, "Really? Who wrote it?" "I did." Jules. Anytime there's a Steven Seagal story. Like, I love the Jamie Presley one where "I'm an expert in shiatsu massage. Please let me massage you." You know, you told me that one. And next thing you know, she's having her boobs grabbed on by him.
I'm an expert in
I'm an expert. Let me give me those titties, baby. So anyway, he's doing a movie. He's doing a movie with Keenan Ivory Wayans.
Right.
And I did one, and that's where I heard Keenan tell me this story. I hope he doesn't mind me telling this story. But Steven Seagal had just met with the Dalai Lama. And apparently, if you give enough money to the Dalai Lama's charities, eventually you get something out of it. Right. And so the Dalai Lama made him a deity.
Wow.
A god. Some Tibetan Buddhist.
That must have really appealed to his ego.
Oh, yeah, no, it must have. No, so anyway, he comes to the set after he makes you the Dalai Lama. And he comes, now he's a god. He comes to the set, now he was Steven Seagal, now he's Steven Seagal. Now he's Steven Seagal, the god, the deity from the Dalai Lama. And he comes to the set, and he's there, and Keenan says, so what? I just met with the Dalai Lama, and he, in his wisdom, decided to make me a deity. And he gives the quang karang the ding da dong whatever. And I feel a difference. I feel like an enlightenment, the sense of that I can do something now, and everything just seems to come into place for me spiritually and in my career. And I feel like it's certain things now that never made sense to me make sense to me on a universal level. And his assistant comes up to him and says, hey, Steven, your ex-wife called. You can't bring the kids over this weekend. You tell that fucking cunt. If she doesn't get those kids over here, I'll break her fucking neck.
I was not supposed to do that, but I may have been a bad boy and done it.
I think Sensei Steven Seagal with the 3 S's, it just sort of rolls off the tongue, you know?
There you go. Hey, well, you're the commentator, see?
Okay, I wanted to ask you, there's been this sort of story that's been passed around, and I like to get to the bottom of things. I'm sure you can appreciate that. You versus Judo Gene LaBelle. What exactly happened on the set of that movie?
I don't even know if he's still alive.
That's stupid. You're stupid. Stop being stupid.
These stories. He came over to my trailer, and I was with a guy called Conrad Palmisano, who is still a legend and one of the greatest stunt coordinators in the history of Hollywood. And we were standing there, we were just talking about moves and stuff like that. And we were just doing some stretching. And, he was showing me, how you can stretch. Or he wanted to stretch my back, and he stretched my back, and then I just kind of, flipped over the top of him and said thank you for that.
That just raises further questions.
You're saying that someone has created this sort of fable, this myth of an altercation that never even happened. And I'm just wondering how it has continued to live on.
There was never ever any confrontation with him, ever.
Never.
In any way, shape, or form. And I swear to God on my children, they're the most sacred thing to me in this life.
I just really wanted to get to the bottom of the story, and I think we finally put the nail in that coffin, don't you think?
Yeah, what you should do if you don't believe me, and I'm pretty positive you do.
I do.
Find Conrad Palmisano. I know you do. And find Conrad Palmisano and let him call Conrad a liar too.
That's because you have no friends.
I really don't know.
Gene LaBelle and Steven Seagal had a...
Yeah, that's a true story.
Yeah.
That's an absolute true story. Gene LaBelle told me that story.
Yeah.
Gene tells you it like this. He doesn't actually tell you the whole story.
What's the story?
Well, Steven was trying to say that no one could choke him out. You can't choke him out. He had this move. This move to stop you from choking out. So, I was like, all right, Steven, let's try it. And I get him in a headlock there. I get him in the rear naked. And he takes this hand, the free hand, and then you just karate chops me right in, the old sisters. And there's the way Gene LaBelle talks, right. He wouldn't even say his balls. He's like the nicest guy ever. He would say something like, right in the old Johnson, And then, and then I guess he got tired after doing that, and he just fell asleep. And I guess maybe he forgot to go to the bathroom. So he went to the bathroom then.
Oh, that's hilarious.
He's like the guy that taught Bruce Lee about grappling. Bruce Lee back in the day thought you could just karate kick everybody in the head, and that was the shit, Right. And Bruce Lee actually worked on a lot of more effective things like leg kicks and short range techniques, Wing Chun and boxing punches and stuff like that. But he really wasn't aware about grappling until he hooked up with Gene LaBelle. And Gene LaBelle's a fucking gorilla. He's just national champion judo player, and he's just so fucking ridiculously strong.
A lot of people very much enjoying this interview, sending me questions. Here's one that I've always wanted to ask you. After a few events over the past year, I've had the privilege and honor of interviewing one Sensei Steven Seagal, and he has taken he has taken credit for Anderson Silva's finishing maneuver against Vitor Belfort and Lyoto Machida's finishing shot against Randy Couture at UFC 129. There is a story out there, and I think you've addressed it before, but let's address it on this show because I've interviewed him a few times, and people are asking me about it. Did you, in fact, choke out Sensei Seagal on the set of a movie, and is it true that he did, in the process, soil himself?
Well, if a guy soils himself, you can't criticize him, because if they just had a nice big dinner an hour before, you might have a tendency to do that. I don't think he's taught these MMA fighters how to win a match. I know where he's insulted Randy Couture. Well, Randy Couture, if he ever got mad, would have him for lunch. And, you can't be braggadocious that they've done something.
Right.
Everybody has their individual things that have happened. Gene LaBelle knows Gene LaBelle.
I've been doing the martial arts for almost 50 years.
Joe Rogan said it was his best performance.
Oh, well, okay.
Are you not a Joe Rogan fan?
I'm a fighter. I've fought all my life.
Was that how you expected the main event to go? John Jones submitting Rampage, really? Why so? A lot of people weren't thinking that he was actually going to submit him.
Pretty good eye. Improve better. And I got the eye, I would know. Yeah, he's getting better. I'm a fighter, and I got a good eye, and I know a little bit about technique.
Of all the stupid, asinine, shark-jumping bullshit!
He's a liar movie star.